cut little grooves in it and drop the seed down in there and then close the groove back up.
This is Weston's third summer in the tractor cab.
And this is the last place we hope that they'll be before we put them out into the new coop.
We'll sit down and share our experience of miscarriage with you all.
It didn't take us long to figure out that something wasn't right.
Continue to carry our child and did our best at trying to take the natural route on it. Life is to be celebrated. Hey guys, welcome back to our corner of Maine. Today Ben is out in the field mowing some hay, some of our first crop. So Weston and I are loaded up and we're headed out to meet him.
Right now, we are out mowing hay. Meredith and Weston decided to come out and visit me. What we're doing right now is we're cutting 150 acres of hay that's going to be rotated into corn next year. It's already been killed. We killed it about 3 or 4 days ago. And we're going to cut the hay crop off of it, and then in about another 5 to 7 days we're going to plant corn into it. And like I said, we plant no-till, so we will plant right into the sod, and next fall we'll cut a corn crop off of it.
And you haven't been doing as much field work as you have in years past.
No.
You're kind of turning into a cow guy, huh?
Yeah, I've been doing more cow work as the years go on, which I kind of like that better anyway, so it works out. But it's kind of nice to sit in the tractor for the afternoon once in a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't require quite as much, I don't know, just nice to unwind
just a change of pace and get out of the barnyard.
Yeah.
And I was just reminiscing how this is Weston's third summer in the tractor cab, because the first summer he was in my belly, last year we had him in a car seat at our feet, and this year he's hanging out on Mama's lap. So it's just a fun family thing we do, and he's probably gonna get antsy here soon, so we'll have to get out, but it's a good way to spend some time with Daddy while he's working long days.
And I appreciate the visit because it kind of breaks up the day a little bit too.
Yeah. Sorry for how bumpy it is. It's a tractor after all.
Not on the highway.
Yeah.
So though this field looks like it hasn't been planted, it has. We cut little grooves in it and drop the seed down in there and then close the groove back up. And you can see the corn plants are starting to come up now. We do this to about 90% of our fields is what is called no-till. And we plant about 750 acres of corn and about 508 acres of grass, and to feed our herd of 800 milking cows and about 800 or 900 little ones too. We've been trying to show you guys as we grow these chicks, each place they go. They started in the house and then they went up into the attic of our garage. And then it started to get kind of hot up there as the days got warmer, so we brought them down into the downstairs of our garage. And this is the last place we hope that they'll be before we put them out into the new coop. It's almost done. I'm continuing to make progress on that, but I just wanted to show you how much they're growing. They're changing a lot every day. They're almost fully feathered, I would say. And they're just kind of neat to watch. Acre loves watching them too. But hopefully we'll get them outside soon, and then we'll have to introduce them to the 4 birds we currently have. We wanted to sit down and share with you all about the story of our first child.
Yes, unfortunately, our first baby did not make it to our arms. We lost our first child to miscarriage. But with Mother's Day having just passed and Father's Day right around the corner, we've just been reflecting a lot on parenthood and what it means to us. And so we thought it would be valuable to sit down and share our experience of miscarriage with you all and how we processed it and grieved it. And just the life of our little baby for the short time that we had him or her.
Yeah, when we were in the midst of the miscarriage, we looked to others who we knew who had had one, or even people on the internet who had had one, for wisdom and guidance on how to go through and process this thing. And so we hoped in sharing this story that we would be an encouragement to those of you who have had one or are even going through one right now, and just to help you process it.
Yeah, that you're not alone, that it's very much a family process, it's an intricate process, and that it takes time. But as we share our story, we'll be talking about our baby and as a child, and we believe that that was a life within me, even though it was a very short little life, a very cherished life it was. And so as we share our story and share our hearts, and as we're vulnerable and transparent with you, we just pray that you're encouraged and that you feel journeyed alongside, and that maybe some of the insight we learned through this trial, that you can glean some wisdom from it as well. So it was the first week of December 2016 when in the morning I decided to take a pregnancy test, and I honestly didn't take it because I thought I was pregnant. I just have this rule for myself where I take a pregnancy test if I'm going to have a drink, and we were going to meet friends for a drink that night. And I also have this little tradition of I always record myself taking a pregnancy test. In the off chance that it's positive, I want to capture my genuine reaction. And so I'm so pleased to say that I caught this on film. And the first test I took, I was incredibly confused by what I was seeing. I honestly didn't believe it.
You were expecting a no.
Yeah, I was absolutely expecting a no. I just happened to have the camera on because I always do that. And so I was very confused.
I don't know what to think of that. There's definitely a second line there. I honestly don't know what to think.
I was so surprised to see that second faint line, and I honestly didn't believe it. So I decided to go get ready for the day, and I'd take another test. And this is my reaction to seeing that second test.
All right. There's two. There's two lines on this one too. There's two lines on this one too. Oh man. Am I right?
So I went to the doctor's office that day for them to confirm it, and sure enough, they said I was pregnant. And on my ride home, I just couldn't believe it, but I pulled out my camera and took a video of all the details just to have for us to document and remember and look back on. And at the end of that video, I said a sentence expressing one of my desires for our baby, and it turned out to be a very heavy sentence. So I just really hope that this sticks, this stays, this is the baby for us.
While all this is going on, I have no idea that any of this is happening.
No, I was being secretive all day, but I did want to tell him as soon as possible. So I worked up this little announcement that was pretty personal to him. I took coffee beans, which is one of his huge interests and likes, and I spelled out, "You're a father." And then I bought these little white booties and set them on the desk as well, and a dried flower arrangement from our grandparents' funerals as a little memorial for them. And I was just feverish in that front room with excitement, and I could not wait to tell you, and I knew you had no idea it was coming.
Nope. I was completely oblivious. Are you serious?
I didn't know. I'm serious.
Holy.
I went to the doctor today.
That is a moment I will never forget, and that look on your face was just something else.
To say I was at a loss for words is an understatement. It was such a surprise. It was the last thing I expected.
It was a shock to both of us.
But it was also so much excitement too.
A lot of joy and shock all combined. Yeah. And so it took us quite a while to wrap our heads around how our life was going to change and just what this meant, but we were so excited and yeah.
So we made this sign to announce to family and to the internet.
Yes.
And it kind of goes along with my line of work.
We took this old wooden door, and on the front of it wrote, "Farmhand wanted," and then crossed out the wanted and wrote, "On the way." And so we carried this sign around to each of our family members' houses and surprised them by just flipping it around, and we had a lot of fun doing that.
Our families were so excited. It was obvious that this child was already so loved and anticipated.
There was a lot of excitement, and this baby was already bringing so much joy. We used this photo to share on Facebook on Christmas Day and make our announcement to our extended family and friends.
On January 9th, we went in for our 8-week ultrasound, and it didn't take us long to figure out that something wasn't right.
The tech was very quiet, searched around a lot, and we had never had an ultrasound before, but it was pretty obvious that she was doing a lot of looking and measuring, and but we had to wait for the doctor to come in and tell us anything really. They essentially told us that our child was no longer alive and that it appears as though life ended at 5 weeks gestation. So that was 3 weeks prior to where I was sitting right then at 8 weeks.
And you had no indication of this.
No.
You weren't having any pain or bleeding or anything like that.
Yep. I was no indication that that things were going awry in there. And so we talked with my doctor, my osteopathic doctor, and he of course laid out all of the options of a medication for me to help pass the remains of our child, to have a DNC, or to wait and see what my body would do, and we very much desired to wait.
We decided to wait and let your body do it, and
we didn't realize how long that wait was going to be.
yes, exactly. After a number of weeks, we went in for another ultrasound and saw that your body was actually didn't understand what was going on.
My body was very confused. My uterus was continuing to grow because my body thought there was life still within me, and but our child, the remains of our child, were breaking down, and so at that point my doctor recommended that they would like to have me have a DNC so that they could biopsy the child's remains.
For the health of you, to make sure that there was no infections going on.
So it was a total of 5 weeks that I continued to carry our child and did our best at trying to take the natural route on it. I wouldn't do it differently going back. I think that was the best option for us.
It gave us peace of mind. You know, you hear stories of people who are told they're having a miscarriage and then they wait and it turns out that the child was actually alive, and so it kind of gave us peace of mind knowing that by waiting
and that second ultrasound, that second peek inside to confirm was very a lot of closure for us. But also there's just a lot of value in letting my body take its natural process. Unfortunately, my body just didn't understand this time. And so with the help of modern medicine, on February 15th, I had a DNC. And that was not a very fun experience. That was my first major surgery, and it's a gut-wrenching surgery to have.
Yeah, because you absolutely do not want to be there.
And we had done everything to try to avoid that.
Absolutely, it was a last case resort, really.
Yeah. And this is where it kind of came to a head emotionally. I think I remember shortly before going in, feeling incredibly defeated, feeling very sorrowful. I just remember looking Ben in the eye and promising him that I will give him children someday.
Yeah.
And I made the doctor promise that he was not going to mess anything up that would make me not be able to bear children. And of course he promised he was going to do his absolute best, and now we know I can, and I delivered on that promise, but that was one of the most emotional pieces of our miscarriage. Would you agree?
The DNC?
Yeah, or that promise I made to you right as I was heading in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you were being wheeled away from me, and you were very worked up about, I think, the procedure, but also because of the fear of all of it.
Yeah.
Just all the emotions coming to a head, and I felt so helpless in that moment, not really knowing how to help you, but other than just to give you words of encouragement.
Yeah. And I feel like this whole entire miscarriage and the process of losing our child and then having our child removed from my body, that this was the most connecting and bonding experience for our marriage. We had never come upon trial.
We've never really gone through much of a tragedy up to this point.
And then we were all of a sudden thrust into one that's very, very emotionally driven, that was filled with desire to grow our family. And we processed it differently, but we also processed it so well as a partnership, I think.
Yeah, I mean, with a miscarriage, you go from such a peak to such a valley, and I think you have to be careful because it can push you apart. But you have to dialogue, and you have to have a good line of communication. And for us, it was prayer also. We looked to God for comfort, and we looked to each other, and as Meredith said, it brought us together.
I remember, I want to say it was like the second day after we heard that our child was no longer alive, that I looked you in the eye and I made you promise me that you're going to do this with me, and that we're not going to shut down and push each other away, but that we're going to press into each other and press into the promises that God has for our life. And though it was incredibly hard, I'm very thankful for this experience in our marriage.
Yeah, it's kind of strange to say, but it's part of our story, and it definitely shaped us as individuals and as a married couple.
It was something we were going through together, and it was beautiful, even though it was tough. We certainly experienced some insensitive comments from some well-meaning people.
Yeah, nobody meant to say an insensitive comment, but in an effort to try to make us feel better. Sometimes it's better just to listen.
Yeah, so if you're on the outskirts of someone who is having a miscarriage, or if you have the opportunity to be in an encouragement role to someone who is going through that or has gone through that, I feel like a listening ear is just the most important thing. And asking what they need of you rather than assuming and giving blanket statements that end up kind of
Cutting.
yeah, and feeling sour to the couple. But also giving space and allowing for a couple to grieve and process and memorialize in their very own way. Some families do well with only talking about it amongst themselves. For us, we are definitely more open with our experience, in a desire to keep our baby's name alive, but also to hopefully be an encouragement. So we have several ways that we memorialize our baby, but one of the largest is we continue to talk about our baby.
Absolutely.
We decided to just refer to our first child as Baby Taylor, and that will forever be our first baby. And when Weston was in utero, we referred to him as Little Taylor. So in our minds, Baby Taylor will forever be the name of our first. And that's just a sweet little memory. That baby was due in August of 2017, so August is when we celebrate that life. And we do so in a really unique family way that come August time we're going to share with you. Lastly, I just want to share how, for me, writing was an incredible way for me to process and express my emotions as we were going through our miscarriage. And I sat down one evening to write a post for Facebook because we had announced our pregnancy on Facebook. I felt as though we needed to share the story of our miscarriage, and as I sat down to write that, it ironically felt like I was writing my child's eulogy, which was an experience I never thought I'd have. But I had the opportunity to use my words to express our heart. And in that post, I shared a verse from Job that I was really clinging to. And this verse shares the truth that the Lord gives to us and the Lord takes away. But blessed be his name, and that his name is to be praised no matter what. And leaning into that promise that he is good no matter what, and that we can trust him. He's worthy of our trust. And so that's a verse that really encouraged us as we journeyed through this, and we hope it encourages you as well. So we hope that this was an encouragement, and that you got to know us better and our hearts a little bit better as well.
And as I said at the beginning of the video, if you're going through this, we hope your experience will be its own, and you'll have your own way of processing it, but we hope that in what we've shared, it'll help you get through your experience as well.
And knowing that God has a plan for your life and the life of your children, and that he values life so incredibly much, and that he encourages us to as well. And so life is to be celebrated, and we're just so thankful for our little baby Taylor for the time that we had our baby.